What's going on, everybody? Drew Am alongside Alyssa Orange.
Hello.
And Alyssa just got back from the Eric Musselman press conference. So we're going to get to basketball because I know people are, needless to say, excited about hoops right now.
Yeah, a lot of excitement. You saw the energy from Musselman on Tuesday. A lot of people need that to hold on to because football obviously isn't something that people want to talk about right now. But right now, if you want to look at that men's basketball team, they're just ready to kind of look at what they did good, what they did bad, and move on to North Texas.
Yeah, 91-43 victory on Tuesday night up at Walton Arena for Eric Musselman and the Razorbacks. But let's begin with football as we revert to what happened this past Saturday. I know we all want to forget it, but let's revert to what happened there. Obviously, Mississippi State came to play, and it's a football team that came in sub-500. Arkansas was not ready to play whatsoever, and really the third consecutive week we saw they really didn't get off the bus, and that's going to be a theme that we talk about throughout this Facebook Live as we continue to stream here, talking about the Razorback football program, which is 2-7 on the season. But just your impressions right now about the state of the program.
Well, there's a lot of question marks and not a lot of happy faces, and it's really a do or die right now, if you ask me, for this football program, because you come in, you've now got 3 games left, and if you're Chad Morris, in my opinion, you're fighting for your job. You're trying to prove why you should be here after year 2. You don't lose to Western Kentucky and still have a job, in my opinion. We're all going to see what happens, but it's hard to win or lose games like that and still justify a program that's moving forward, in my opinion. So that's where we are, but where's this offense at right now? I mean, we saw offense from this team at the end of the game.
Let's get to that offense, or lack thereof, from Joe Craddock, offensive coordinator of the Razorbacks. Arkansas with these duds that we continue to see early in the game. And, you know, here's the deal. Arkansas, in the last 3 games in the first quarter combined, has been outscored 48-0. That shows you just how brutal it is, Arkansas not giving up the bus. So when you can't get off the bus and be ready to go, you know, this is what happens. You get punched in the mouth early. And I don't care if you're playing at 11, at 3, or at 6. You're going to get punched in the mouth, and you're going to see that in the process, the defense is over there like, okay, even though the defense obviously collectively this past week gave up 640 total yards, the defense is kind of huffing and puffing like, guys, sustain a drive. Do something.
Anything.
Stop with the 3 and outs, you know. And what I'm getting at is that Joe Craddock talked about how in the first quarter alone against Mississippi State, Arkansas only ran 7 plays. Unacceptable. Yeah,
that's pretty harsh reality when you think about it now that you say it out loud.
7.
Oh, my goodness. You have to understand that that's not how you win ball games, and people know that. But this is an offense now, not in week 1, not in week 2. You've got Ben Hicks out there who, from the beginning, you have said is your guy that knows this offense, is familiar with what we want to do, can get guys in the right spots. We haven't seen any of that. We saw none of that against Mississippi State. Nobody was really clicking together. And so what we're being told and what we're seeing from this team on the field is 2 very different things.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, what happens is you put more and more pressure on your defense. They come out, and I know that they've got a ton of issues themselves, but when they continue to give up chunk plays, but they're also over there like, you know, our offense is not doing anything either. I mean, you got to think mentally what's that going to say about your football team, what it's doing, a football team collectively on the sidelines. But, you know, we alluded to Ben Hicks getting started this past week, and one of the pieces of video that you just saw in there was him calling that timeout early. And that's something that continuously frustrates me about this team, is that you burn timeouts early in the football game. Maybe a timeout you could use at the end of the first half, or one that you could use late in the game. And there it is. And if you just look at the body language there, I know DJ Williams, if he were here, you know, being a former Razorback and having been on the field and played in such huge games and just knowing what it's like, just from a simple standpoint, you would think it's simple, just getting aligned properly. That's what I'm getting at. You saw the body language from Hicks. He's trying to motion somebody, or something's going on there that just goes awry. And that's why you got to burn that time out. And you're sitting up there in the press box, and you're just watching this, and it happens time and time again. And here we are 9 games in.
Yeah, it's frustrating. We're going to see what they're able to do against Western Kentucky. Again, not a Power 5 team, a team Arkansas should beat handedly. But we can't say that about anybody these days. You've got Ty Story, who's coming in, who obviously wants to prove a very big point to this Arkansas staff on, you shouldn't have let me go. and we're going to see what happens. On senior day, though, you would hope that Arkansas able to perform at a high level for their seniors in this senior class who've been through a lot. And they deserve something positive to end their season at home with. So hopefully it happens, but you really got to hold your breath until the game is over. And it says 0-0 on the clock in the fourth quarter to actually be like, oh, Arkansas won. You got to hold your breath a little bit.
Yeah. Seeing this video over and over again is so painful.
Sorry, I'll get off of it. We'll move on.
I mean, you're watching it, you're just like, my goodness,
segue.
Tommy Stevens, Kylan Hill, Mississippi State was doing whatever it wanted to, and it came
perfect
in
segue to basketball.
below 500 on the season.
I'm trying to pull up comments over here. I'm not ignoring Drew, but
that's okay.
My phone doesn't like me, so I apologize.
I can get some going here. I can get some going.
Yeah, that's all
right.
But
I do want to kind of stay with football just for a minute because you talked about Western Kentucky, and here's the thing, Ty Story, he's going to get that football out of his hand quickly. And John Chavis is very concerned about that. San Jose State was allowed, or basically able to do that, let's just say that. Very quickly, you saw what Josh Love was able to do as a San Jose State Spartan back in week 4 and be able to do that to where they were able to, be efficient offensively, get those big plays, and it started very early in the game, and obviously everybody was just shocked that Arkansas was defeated in that football game. But let's talk about Western Kentucky because San Jose State being a Mountain West opponent, Western Kentucky is a Conference USA opponent, and this is a team just one win shy of bowl eligibility. But when you look at the Hilltoppers, I'm looking at, okay, what are the mismatches? And I know you've looked at this, but Lucky Jackson is a wide receiver for them that is big time. I mean, this guy had 16 catches against Marshall a few weeks back, so Ty's got a lot of weapons out there that he can go to.
That's going to be a big test for this secondary, which we have seen struggle tackling. We've seen them struggle with the D-ball a lot this season. So it'll be a big test for them. They're trying to prove things. But, man, Ty Story comeback. Hog fans are going to hate me. Ty Story comes back, beats Arkansas on senior day to give Western Kentucky their 6th win of the season to make them bowl eligible.
Yeah.
That's like 3 gut punches at one time.
Yeah, I would say
that's a little nauseating if you're a Hog fan.
That's not just a jab. That's that's a
Yeah.
good combination right there.
Oh my gosh.
If you're using a little boxing analogy, but
so all Arkansas can do is not let that happen.
Yeah, we're seeing basketball here as we talk more and more here on this Facebook Live, and let's get to basketball because this is an Arkansas hoops team with Eric Musselman that really set the tone early and often against the Rice Owls and Rice coming out of Conference USA. You look at what happened on Tuesday. Right away, Mason Jones was feeling it, and it was just great to see that not only was he feeling it, but then it was able to, kind of get other people in rhythm. You saw Desi Sills was able to drive very quickly and efficiently. So, when Desi Sills is going, you also got Isaiah Joe going. I mean, it just both ends of the floor, they had it in sync, Alyssa.
Yeah, they really did, and we talked to Jalen today, and he said, I think that's a testament to just how well we play together and how well we know everybody. You talk about the ball distribution, and there's so many people on that team right now on the floor who can score. Guys in other teams aren't having to just focus on Isaiah Joe or focus on Mason Jones. You've got Jalen Harris who's hitting 2 threes, and Desi Sills who can also score, and even Jimmy Witt who can score. So it was pretty exciting to watch them be able to distribute. And if you look at the stat sheet, we were talking about it today, time of possession, guys really just playing like no one played over 32 minutes. Guys playing 20, 21 minutes, and they're tracking that to keep it as balanced as possible, keep guys fresh. Jalen Harris said today, with Eric Musselman, I feel like I can say, and he did take himself out of the game, Coach, I need a break. He goes out, but knows Coach will put me right back in when I need it. So can that help them down the road knowing I'm going to need a break? Coach will let me have a break, but will put me back in, and I'm not, I'm afraid to go out because who knows if I'm going to see the court again.
Yeah, that's a great point, really, because when you look at the 2 point guards they have, I feel good about it because assist to turnover ratio, Jalen was really good this past season. You look at Jimmy Witt and just the experience he brings. But to be able to see those 2 guys and know that one can, obviously spell another, and you can work that way from a rotational standpoint, huge for Eric Musselman. I want to segue here and talk about Reggie Chaney because I know that you heard from Eric Musselman today. Suspended is Reggie Chaney, the front court player for Arkansas, second-year player for the Razorbacks. what more can you tell us? I'm going to get to some comments here, see what's going on. But what was he saying about Reggie today?
Yeah, I asked him about Reggie Chaney at his press conference, and he said there's no update. As of right now, the status remains the same. Reggie Chaney is still suspended indefinitely. Followed that question up by Bob with how is Chaney's attitude? And Musselman says it's been great. We've had conversations. We see eye to eye on where we are and where we need to be. He's been doing really well in meetings, and there's a lot that Reggie Chaney needs to do to get himself back on the court. But right now, that relationship doesn't seem to be severed. Reggie Chaney understands, whatever it was that he did behind closed doors, they're working on it to mend whatever was going on and get him back on the floor. But as of right now, still suspended. He goes, I'm sure that, Mike Haywood will send out a press release when he is no longer suspended. But that's the update right now. But obviously a question we need to ask with the biggest guy on this team outside of Connor Vanover not being able to play.
Yeah. But back to the outset of this Facebook Live, the fact that we can sit here and say, all right, the energy that Musselman is bringing, the attention to detail. For me, that's the biggest phrase you can use, attention to detail, what he has implemented since he got here in April as the head coach. Just knowing analytically what you need to do and to show his guys, whether it's a box score that's standard or extended, because analytics are so huge now. He's subscribed to so many different people that are into analytics and to his benefit. Now you're seeing what he's done. You saw what he did 4 years at Nevada. Now you're seeing what he's doing here first season leading the Hogs. And I know it's early, but you got North Texas coming in on Tuesday. We got a question here. This is actually going to rewind to football. And appreciate this question from James Kurtner. James, appreciate you. Yes, we have a young team, but we shot ourselves in the foot, and also the play calling on the offense has to get better. Yeah, clearly. I mean, let's kind of talk about the youth as the first part of that. And that is, okay, all right, you know what John Chavis is working with. He has been given more and more reps to somebody in particular like Ladarius Bishop. Bishop got burned, huge play. Osiris Mitchell went up, touchdown catch. Tommy Stevens threw it this past week. I mean, that's just one example. I don't want to pick on Ladarius, but that's the point. You just got a lot of young guys out there, and that's been the theme all year. And now it's to the point where people are just wanting to know, can you even really build on what you have right now? Because sense of urgency has to come into play at some point.
Yeah, I think you can build on what you have right now. I think this staff has taken too long to try to build that. I think they wasted a lot of time this season not playing these young guys, not getting them reps early on. So it's hard for us and fans to say, okay, I can see a glimpse into the future. I can see that, these guys might be young, but they're showing a lot of potential. So next year we could be even better. Right now, we don't have a good enough sample size to say that, in my opinion. Hindsight is 20/20, and I understand it, but how different could things have been if Chad Morris would have started KJ Jefferson from the beginning? Right now, in hindsight, if you look back, I get that you bring in Ben Hicks. Maybe you don't bring Nick Starkel, and this is my hypothetical world, so stay with me for a second. And you start KJ Jefferson and say, you know what? My freshman has the biggest upside long term, and I'm going to work on molding my freshman. I bring Ben Hicks in to help. Yeah, he can compete, but really help build my freshman and teach him and create a place where he's learning from a guy who's been in my system for a few years. But KJ's mobile. KJ gets the job done. And maybe some of these losses, if the season would have gone the same way, some of these losses are a little bit more understandable because fans are saying we can see progress. And we know that we've got a freshman and relying on a freshman, and we're going to be a little bit maybe more lenient and understanding with a freshman QB because he's learning so much than with a 5-year guy who's coming in who supposedly knows your offense so well and still can't seem to get the job done.
Yeah, right now
That's my little hypothetical world that I've thought about.
I think it's a collection of valid points you're making, and to sit here and talk about that 9 games in, I mean, it might be a little easy to do that. But at the same point in time, I think to your point, when you look at KJ Jefferson being a dual threat, they talk about being able to excel at the highest level when they have a running quarterback. That's what they've always been able to do as a staff. We all know that Chad has so many remnants of his previous staffs on this current staff. So when you look at that, you bring in Nick Starkel. He's got another year of eligibility next season, but he's been a complete flop, throwing way too many picks.
Hasn't worked out.
Ben Hicks, just in terms of throwing the ball downfield. And really, honestly, maybe outside of some spotty moments where I've seen him run the football, we saw a nice long run in a critical moment against Texas A&M. And albeit he played pretty well in that game. That's the point. We're looking at a scenario where they talk about wanting to have a running quarterback. And yet the guys you went with initially, to me, didn't really stay true to form if you're going to go with that philosophy. Those aren't really the guys that line up to be that effective within that philosophy is what I'm trying to say. So now you've got John Stephen Jones, redshirt freshman. And obviously he's thrown a touchdown pass each of the past 2 games. But he's 5'11", so people are going to start right there and be like, okay, how does that play out? And then how much of a role will that play in this football game coming up against WKU? But then you got KJ over there on the sidelines. When do you bring him in? He's 6'3", 228 pounds.
Yeah. Well, and again, we've asked this a million times. Why didn't they do it earlier? Morris got asked yesterday when we're going to see KJ and if he's going to go with a hot hand. And he kind of gave us an answer that we're going to see KJ early. We don't know how early. And then are you going to stay with a hot hand? If though, John Stephen Jones is playing well, do you keep him in there? Or do you go to KJ early and keep KJ in there? How are you going to balance that? And that's what's going to be interesting to watch, how he balances what KJ Jefferson and what John Stephen Jones do in terms of playing time. And then how that translates into Missouri in that week. But we're going to have to just see. So hopefully, I mean, I think everybody knows I'm not trying to, no disrespect. I would love to see KJ sooner rather than later.
Well, totally on board with you right there. I know we want to close with one more topic. That is soccer. Because I know that the soccer team
a little bit of a shout
is getting set to go here. The Arkansas Razorbacks soccer program will start at 3:30.
I'm getting there. Look, we're learning a new system.
New system. Hey, boom, boom, boom. There you go. Florida Gators, number 5 seed in this SEC tournament. Orange Beach, Alabama, the site. So again, bottom of the hour, 3:30 is the start for top-seeded Arkansas.
Yeah, trying to get to that SEC finals for the 2nd year in a row. And believe it or not, I did listen to the interview that the Florida girl, one of the players, gave after their win over Texas A&M. And they said, we play just better against better opponents. We like kind of being an underdog. We play up to their level. And so they say they're ready for Arkansas. So we'll see what happens today at 3:30.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I've watched with this team, though, is how impressive it's been defensively. I mean, I know that, when you look at the stretch run, you might be like, oh, how'd they give up that goal or that goal? But honestly, collectively, I mean, remember that stretch they had there, particularly when they were facing North Carolina, and you saw the number of shutouts they were able to string together. I mean, that, for me, is just outstanding preparation. For Colby Hale to go into practice and to set his team up that way. You take on
it's the definition of consistency, and that's what the soccer team has done. They have been level-headed. They have been consistent all season long. They're a team that knows their potential, knows that they could easily win a national title. But the words national title aren't words that are said a lot in this program because they don't need to be looking to that. They don't need to be even looking at an SEC title until and if they get there on Saturday. That's how Colby Hale kind of runs this thing, and it's working for this program right now.
Highest ranking ever in the United Soccer Coaches Poll for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Colby Hale and the Razorbacks, best of luck to you in Orange Beach, Alabama, the SEC Soccer Tournament semifinals. Alyssa Orange, Drew Emmett here. Big Trail Nation, thanks for joining us.